Well, good Thursday morning. It is October 10th, 2024, and you're listening to PNW Today, streaming on WJOB, JED TV, and being recorded for JED TV podcasts. My name is Cale Wilk. I serve as Communications Specialist in the Office of Marketing and Communications at PNW, and I'm really excited for the topics that we have in store for today because both of them are really going to dovetail very nicely, in which we're going to be talking about admissions, paying for college, as well as our first generation student initiatives on campus. So the first part here, we're going to be talking about admissions and paying for college. And what even makes this, all the better is I like to say it's the cast that really makes the show. And the two guests that are joining me to help talk about admissions and paying for college. So just going down the line here, I'm really excited to be able to say this for the first time on the air. Dr. Julie Wejack is in the studio. And Julie is our Executive Director of Undergraduate Admissions. Julie, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Of course.
And also joining us is the always wonderful Tanika House, our Associate Director for Financial Aid. Tanika, thank you so much for being able to join today as well. So let me just go ahead and run down a few quick upcoming events that are happening at Purdue Northwest. So if you are a PNW student or you're an alum, you are invited to attend our Fall 2024 Career Expo that's going to be hosted by our wonderful folks at the PNW Career Center. So mark your calendars for Wednesday, October 23rd, and between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. in the Fitness and Recreation Center. You can hear from different employers that are offering full-time roles and internship opportunities across a whole range of different industries and academic majors. So if you want to learn more and if you'd like to register, visit pnw.edu/career-center. I also like to shout out, so one of the great initiatives that we have during the academic year is One Book, One University. And so the text that is being shared among a number of our students for this year is called The Coming Wave, Technology, Power, and the 21st Century's Greatest Dilemma. That's taking a look at different topics concerning artificial intelligence. So our College of Engineering and Sciences is going to be hosting an event on Friday, October 25th between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. And there's going to be a panel discussion. There's going to be a debate with some visitors from our local Munster High School, and as well as a great discussion on topics delving into some of the different intricacies of artificial intelligence. So if you want to learn more, go to pnw.edu/one-book. And I would also be remiss if I didn't shout out some athletics. So Rick Costello, hope you're listening as well. So 2 games that you can catch at the tail end of this week. So on October 11th at noon, women's soccer is going to be hosting Roosevelt at Dowling Park. And then on October 12th, our ACHA D1 hockey team is going to be hosting Illinois at 7 p.m. And you can catch the hockey team at the Cube. And if you want all the information on athletics, pnwathletics.com. That's the place to go. And one of the things that we are also going to get into a little bit more on the show, Preview PNW. That's also coming up on October 12th. So if you are a prospective student or a family member and you want to learn more about all the great things that PNW has to offer, as well as an idea of what it's like to be a student at PNW, visit pnw.edu/preview to find registration information. And like I said, we're going to get into the show a little bit more about all the different things that are going to be on the docket as far as hearing from our different leaders with different units for admissions and financial aid, as well as the academic opportunities that are available. Again, pnw.edu/preview. And all right, that does it for the laundry list of items. Again, we're talking about admissions and paying for college to start out the show for today. And I have Julie Wejack and Tanika House, who are 2 of our great colleagues at the university, and a whole wealth of knowledge that they're able to bring. So let's go ahead and start out. This is kind of the hot period right now for talking about college admissions. So both of you are hitting the ground with your teams. You're out there talking with students, with families. What are some of the big questions that are coming up right now in the discussions you're having?
Well, some of the big questions that I'm having now is when will the FAFSA application become available? And that will be the 2025-2026 FAFSA application available December 1st. Fingers crossed. So I think that's just one of the burning questions. Not so much a scary question or a scary process, more so a stressful process. So we're actually getting the students now to actually apply for their FSA ID. So that's the Federal Student Aid ID. So we're just telling students to get that done now, along with their guardian. So by that way, they're prepared before that FAFSA application becomes available.
And Tanika's team and my team did that a lot last year too.
Yes.
We were waiting for the application to open. No one knew when
Absolutely.
it was going to open. It was just this big waiting time, and it was a really great effort to get parents and students their FSA
Absolutely.
ID, because while they were sitting there with us, we were able to also talk them through stuff,
Yes.
make sure they had all their ducks in a row before it was actually going to be open. So I think this effort just comes over from last year, where we really saw that the FSA ID getting taken care of early was a huge thing that gave parents a bunch of relief when they were starting to file their FAFSA.
Great teamwork. Yeah.
So, and before, obviously, before you came on the air, one of the things that we have previously talked about is that getting things done early is really the name of the game right
Absolutely.
now. So, what are you trying to emphasize to students and parents as far as getting different tasks completed as soon as they can, and not pushing it off until like the spring or the winter, for example?
So, like Julie mentioned, like last year we were collaborating with a lot of high schools in the local areas. We go do high school nights, FAFSA nights, even sometimes visiting during the day, getting that information out to the students, letting them know to apply early. When that FAFSA application becomes available, certainly adding our school code 001827. I have to throw that out there. 001827 is our school code, and ask for help. So again, the local high schools, the universities, everyone is out there trying to get the students to get this FAFSA information submitted in a timely fashion.
Excellent.
I would say too, with applying for college, most college applications open in August.
Yes.
Kids are starting school at that time. It's like a new year. You're a senior, but I'm sure a lot of parents out there are telling their kids, we got to get these done. We got to get these done. We got to
Yes.
get these done. And the earlier you get them done, the more access you have to scholarships and money. So our scholarship application opens on October 1st, but you have to be an admitted student to use that portal to apply for scholarships. So applying early gets you way more access to scholarship money. So if you're out there right now thinking, we have time, we have time, we have time, just carve out some time. Everybody sit down at the table and just start working on applications. PNW has one on our website, which we own and operate, and then we're also on a Common App this year for the first time. So two very accessible places that families can find PNW's application. It's short, it's succinct, it's not going to take you a lot of time, and getting that big relief of, oh, I'm admitted, this is awesome. Then we
Yes.
can start working with Tanika's team and figuring out, how are we going to pay for this now? We're in. We don't have to stress about that. Now let's talk
Absolutely.
about how we're going to help and support you to pay for this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and one of the things that you had mentioned, and we kind of touched on a little bit here, is these financial aid nights. So, can you talk a little bit about what a typical night might look like when you're visiting a school, or if somebody invites you to be able to give a presentation?
So, absolutely. So first and foremost, we do the presentation. To let them know what financial aid is. What does that entail? So, and then from that point on, we also have a workshop where we assist the students and their families create their Federal Student Aid ID. I'm so used to saying FSA ID, but I want to say Federal Student Aid ID so they'll know exactly what that is. And then also the parents and their families actually to create their FSA ID. So it's a total complete workshop to get students prepared to complete this FAFSA application.
And Tanika's team makes it really digestible. They take all the media sometimes puts out just confusing information to parents and families and students, and everyone's stressing out, and it got all this bad press last year. So Tanika's presentation is very digestible if you know nothing about this process. And then I think you do a great job making sure that there's that these myths and other things they've heard, like loans are terrible, don't do loans, don't take loans, or all these other things that are kind of like fed to students and parents. Tanika's team does a great job like actually working through it with them and being like, look how great this could be. We can do this, we can do this, we can do this. And in the end, you'll be almost debt free when you graduate from college. So I think like accessing these workshops is huge, because you can literally sit down and be like, all right, this might seem like a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And you leave like so relieved that what you thought was
Absolutely.
true is actually not true. There is money for you, or there are opportunities, or this can be attainable. It's like such a great thing. So these workshops are incredible.
Absolutely, Julie.
Yeah. And one of the other great items that both of you brought up was talking about our Scholarship Universe platform. Talk about that as well and all the great opportunities and just how much that helps streamline it for students.
Totally, yeah.
Oh, I can start. So, I absolutely love the platform. The platform is a scholarship platform that allows students to create their profile, and the scholarships are matched with their profile. So it's one scholarship application,
Yeah.
right? And the scholarships are matched with their profile. That's it. They don't have to go out and do single applications or look for additional scholarship applications and things like that. It's just one location for them to be matched with multiple, not even multiple, thousands.
Yeah,
probably.
tons. Yeah.
Yeah. Of
We've
scholarships.
always done this with an application on our website where it was possible to have one application and you got the opportunity to, mark the ones you were interested in for our internal scholarships. The cool thing about Scholarship Universe is it also links you to a bunch of external scholarships. So if you're a student in a family, especially if you're first generation and you don't even know where to start to look, I mean, you're literally in Google, like college scholarships, like that can be very overwhelming. So this kind of takes that overwhelming nature of looking for scholarships out of it and says, fill this thing out once. We see here that you have this quality and this quality and this quality. Did you know we have this scholarship that's available to you? So I think that families will find this is our second year of having this platform.
Second
that it's really incredible because even those little $500 scholarships or
Adds
those
up.
littler scholarships, if this matches you to a bunch of them, I mean,
It
you're
adds
going to
up.
have possibly half of your tuition paid for by just one application for scholarships.
Absolutely, and I like what Julie said, both internal and external. So they're matched with, I mean, they can't lose with applying for this one application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, like you said, the earlier that you get your admissions information in, accept your offer, and then you can be eligible for the merit scholarships as well.
Absolutely. And
Absolutely,
the
yep.
application for the 25-26 Scholarship Universe just opened now, and the deadline date is March 1st.
So that's another reason to do it early and often. And merit scholarships are awarded until January 1st this year. So having your application in early too, you can just start really focusing on the paying part. Like, I've got this part all done. Now let's just me and my family figure out how we're going to make this affordable.
And speaking of affordability, again, one of those themes that really resonates here with the great, financial aid, guidance, and resources that are available is that PNW is an incredibly affordable and accessible place to be able to attain a high quality college education. And the majority of our graduates, at least, they have 50% less debt than the national average of college graduates as well.
Awesome.
Would you like to talk about that a little bit too?
Yeah, I think it's an incredible value. And I think sometimes when people talk about value, they think that lowers the quality. People assume that something that's actually affordable and accessible might not be the same quality, but this education is top notch for how affordable and what a value it is. It's just incredible the things we have going on here at PNW. I was just talking to a colleague yesterday who had an external group on campus, and every time they told them we do something, they were like, you guys do this here? Like, you guys do this here? Like, I think everyone's just so surprised that this like little hidden gem 30 minutes from Chicago is such an exceptional education that you can access right here in your backyard if you live in Northwest Indiana. And then the value part and the part where your family is not super worried about how you're going to pay for this. And that when you look at the budget, you're like, oh, wait, okay, this is
affordable.
actually really doable for us. Like,
That's
I
right.
think that's just like a win-win. It's an exceptional quality and one that's not going to put your family in debt.
Absolutely.
Got it. Thank you very much for being able to talk a little bit on the different financial aid resources that we have. And again, if anybody wants to look up some information, we always love to shout out URLs. pnw.edu/paying for college. That's a great place to be able to have a good starting point to talk to have a view to see some of the different things that Julie and Tanika have been talking about here over the past few minutes. Let's shift gears a little bit here and let's look ahead as well to Preview PNW,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the admissions process.
Mm-hmm.
So, Julie, where do you think would be a good place to start? Should we talk about Preview?
I mean, preview because it's coming up this Saturday, and obviously Tanika's team will be
Yes.
there too. The great thing about preview PNW is it actually like lets you step through what a day in the life would be like as a PNW student. So from check-in to the panel sessions to all the things that go on, you and your family can look at we kind of do it like a menu. So when you check in, you see that at 8 o'clock, I can go to this. At 9 o'clock, I can go to this. At 10 o'clock, I can go to this. And you can really
Yeah.
go to the sessions that matter to you. We're not like sitting you in a room and just like talking at you. Everything is very hands on, everything is very interactive. And then Tanika's team and my team are available all day for you
All
to
day.
sit down with and actually do the process with a person. So if you are
Yes.
worried or at home or, am I going to know the answer to all these questions or what do I need to make sure I have? Do I need my taxes? Like all these things that people are like worried about. Just come see us on Saturday. It's open to anyone. I would say any high school
Any
age
high school.
person. It's never too early to start. So if you're a freshman or a sophomore and you're starting to think about these things, please come join us and you can ask a lot of questions and talk about the process. If you're a senior, you can actually apply for free on Saturday with an admission
Yes.
counselor who will sit down with you and be like, yep, you have all your ducks in a row. This is awesome. Like you're good to go. Then you can come right over to Tanika's team and you and your family can be like, let's talk about how we're paying for this. And it's kind of like a one-stop shop for you to make sure both those things are crossed off your list. And what a relief to leave and have your student have this amazing day. Go to some showcases, academic showcases, go to a student panel where all the students share their own personal experience, maybe go to a living on campus session with our housing staff. And you're just leaving feeling really good and like happy that your student found a place that's going to make them thrive and fulfill their dreams and have all these great experiences.
Yeah.
So
And-
preview is the best.
Yeah, and they'll get an opportunity to hear presentations both in English and in Spanish.
Yep.
So we're going to be there available.
Yeah.
To the students and their families.
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, and like I said, I'd like to always shout out URLs, pnw.edu/preview. That's the place to go. And definitely want to say registration is free.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if you're not too
Yep.
busy on a Saturday and you want to learn more about what it's like to attend PNW or the college experience, come to Preview.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of
Absolutely.
people that will be able to help answer your questions on that. One of the other great things about your teams and our enrollment management and student affairs unit is that there's multiple different touch points for people, not only just at preview, but as the process is going on, before they step foot on campus and even after they are in the middle of their classes. Are you able to talk a little bit about some of these different resources that they have and the accessibility?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say like Tanika's team, obviously, like when they get admitted to PNW, they have a financial aid counselor that they list right there in their portal that stays with them for all 4 years that they're a PNW student. So they meet this person in the recruiting process, and then that person is like their guide and friend for their whole time at PNW. They get an admission specialist, which is the person that is going to ensure that they have everything taken care of so that we don't get to the end and we're like, oh, I never did that. Oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. So they have that person. And then right away in their portal, we list their advisor and make sure that they know that this is the person that's going to help them get all their classes. Make sure they don't take a class they don't need. Make sure they're really excited about their major. So they'll talk to them in that first appointment and be like, why did you choose this major? What do you love about it? What do you want to do for a career with it? We're also totally fine if students come in and they've got an undecided app because they really don't know. And then that advisor is going to talk them through this process where we will help them figure out what they're passionate about. So I just think giving them those resources from the time you get admitted, you'll have those 3 people with their picture, a way to text them, email, call them. I mean, it's just really cool because you're thinking, we don't know what to do next. Well, let me just call one of these friends here in my portal and they're going to take care of me. So we really are excited about that as a service and resource we offer. With more than half of our students being first generation, we never want them thinking, what do I do next? What do I do next?
Exactly.
Like, what are we supposed to do? This customer service team is just right there for them from the minute they're admitted to PNW, and we will make sure that you don't fail. We will make sure that you get everything done. We'll make sure that you graduate. We'll make sure that you have a career that you absolutely love and that this was a life-changing experience. So
We're actually their BFFs.
yeah, totally. I mean, we do like walk them through it.
We
You and
do.
CJ probably our
Yes.
recruiter in Lake
Yes.
County, or Amy, our recruiter in Porter and LaPorte
Yes.
County. Like they go out with Tanika so much right now,
Yeah.
and Tanika's team and Maria, and you guys are all in schools together. I mean, then you see these. You sometimes see them
See 'em.
like at graduation in 4
Absolutely.
years, and you're like, oh, I met them when they were like their first month as a senior, and like. It's just such a really cool thing to see the full circle moment
It really
come
is.
together from the recruitment process
Yeah.
where we become their BFFs, and
We
then
become their BFFs,
you watch them
yeah.
walk across the stage, and you're like,
It's
oh,
awesome.
that's why I do this job.
It's a great feeling.
Yes, and thank you for being able to shout out some of those different resources, especially, yes, for our first gen students.
Yeah.
That's going to be obviously the second topic we're going to be talking about on this show, to talk about educational opportunity programs, TRIO, first gen student initiatives. But yes, absolutely. From the moment that you step foot on campus, you have different people who are, basically your cheerleaders, and are there to
Yes,
help
ma'am.
you every single step of the way.
Yeah.
And especially, as well, to your point about undecided students, University College, we have that resource as a programmatic location as well for students, where they have a home,
Yeah.
and they have a process to be able to matriculate into a major of their choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I also wanted to ask about is The Point is another office
Yeah.
that students are able to leverage too. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so the Point is the office on our campus that runs our new student orientation and tries to help the incoming freshmen transition to college. So they do some transition programming, but it is basically an office that has been opened so that a student can come and ask anything they want, like a student success center. You literally don't need to know what you don't know. You can just walk in and be like, here's what's going on. Can you tell me who can help me? And that's also really relevant with the population of first generation students we have on campus. We've had students think that they had to go to class 5 days a week because that's what they do in high school. We've had students be like, is the bell going to ring? Like, I mean, they just need guidance sometimes, and they might feel silly for not knowing what they don't know. So the point of it is this place that you can go, and it's run by students. So you're going to be asking basically a peer, hey, by the way, do you know when we register for spring classes? And the student who works there is going to be like, yeah, no problem. Let me get you the date. Let's look up your advisor's email. Let's make sure you have an appointment with them. And they're going to help you get your spring classes. And in no way, shape, or form do they feel like lesser because they didn't know the answer to that question, because they have this resource for them on our campus that they can just wander into and basically get help on anything that they might be confused about.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you very much for being able to explain a little bit more about that. And one other thing that I want to be able to ask about, so beyond Preview PNW, that doesn't have to be your only opportunity, obviously, to be able to visit campus. So are you also able to talk about, what goes into if a student and their family, they want to just schedule a visit in general? What gets involved with the itinerary that they have during
Sure.
their visit? What are some shadowing opportunities that students might have to either see one of our faculty members or be in the classroom? I'll leave it
So
to you.
yeah, if you visit our site, we have a whole visit on PNW where you can just log on. You can find a campus tour. Once you start interacting with my staff to set that tour up, they'll let you know if there's any opportunities to shadow a class. So we're partnering with all the colleges right now to have dates and times where a student can come. And if I'm interested in marketing, we know that on this specific Wednesday, there's a tour. And then you actually go sit in on that class to see if maybe you're interested in that major. Is this really the avenue I want to go down? You can talk to our team when you set up your visit and basically ask them for anything. So you might say, I want a tour, I want to shadow a class, I want to sit down with my admission counselor because I want to make sure I don't have any outstanding checklist items. Then you can also set up a meeting with Tanika. There's a lot of times where my person's coming out, Tanika's coming in, and we're just making sure that if you've carved out the time to come here for a day, that you don't feel like you missed out on anything. So we make sure that you've seen and done everything that you're interested in doing. So our visits can be really robust if you want them to. The tours are done by students, so you get like this I'm sorry. This like, not unfiltered, but you have access to the student for a
Yes.
full hour to basically feel at the end of it, do I see myself here? Like the student is giving me their perspective for a full hour with me and my family walking around campus, just like, does this feel right to me? Is this a student I could see having class with, being my friend? Like, so I really think that's a good opportunity too, that the tour guides are actual students because you get to pick their brain for an entire hour, which is like awesome. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, as we also, tend to joke between ourselves, the time passes by very fast.
Oh,
So we we have ticked down for this particular segment, at least for
Sure.
the show.
Sure.
But let's go ahead and just to close out for this segment, both of you, please say, what do you like to emphasize to students and their families about how attainable a PNW experience is?
Well, I can start. With the focus on affordability and accessibility for financial aid purposes. We have a great success team that works with the students and their families to make sure that the financial aid process is seamless, to give them an opportunity to be able to make Purdue affordable by applying themselves to the federal Pell Grant, supplemental education opportunity grants. You have 21st Century Scholars, you have Franco Bannon grants and things like that, even federal work study. So those are some of the resources that we can actually give to information to the students and their families to make it a little less stressful. Some information provided to the students and their families to make it less stressful. I guess that's the word.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And I would say, like, if you're familiar with us and we are already your first choice institution for where you want to go to college, awesome. We can't
Yeah.
wait to meet you and make this process so easy for you and so seamless. If you are not familiar with PNW, come check it out. Honestly, if you live in the region,
Yeah.
across the border in Illinois, wherever you are, if you have not been here, come here and let us blow you away. Let us take you on that visit.
Yes.
Let us show you what we have to offer, coupled with the amazing value and financial aid team we have. I mean, it's a no-brainer. If you haven't been here, absolutely check out our resources. Come for a visit. Come to Preview PNW. Meet with a counselor. Talk to Tanika's team, and we guarantee you'll be blown away by what we
Absolutely.
offer.
Excellent. Well, I'm convinced.
All right, we got one.
We got one.
Go ahead and mark me down. Well, just to close out here, once again, pnw.edu/preview if you would like to learn more about Preview PNW. You can also, of course, visit pnw.edu/admissions to not only learn about that event, scheduling a visit, start your journey will also be another event coming up. And, of course, you'll be able to link to different resources to understand how to pay for college. So, again, Julie and Tanika, thank you so much for your time and your energy for joining the PNW Today program. Again, both of these folks are a wealth of information, and you can find them at Preview if you want to
can.
pick their brains all the more.
We'll both be
Absolutely.
there. Yep.
All
We'll be
right,
there.
well, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and then we're going to transition over to talk about first-gen student initiatives. So we'll be right back. All right, and welcome back to PNW Today. Again, streaming on WJOB, JED TV, and recording for a JED TV podcast. Hey, I just got to give a shout out to Adriana. She's one of our communication students at PNW and just an absolute rock star in the studio and helping guide our journey as well on the production. And so, Adriana, keep it up. You're doing great. And so for our second segment here for October 10th, we're talking about first-gen student initiatives at PNW. So we got three guests to be able to help talk about some of our different topics. So just going down the line here, we got Maida Hernandez, who is an assistant director for First Gen College Student Outreach at PNW. Maida, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited.
We have one of our great PNW students, Melissa Freeman, who is a management major in the College of Business. Shout out COB. Melissa, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Ronald Dubose, our Executive Director for First Generation Student Success and Educational Opportunity Programs. Ronald, thank you so much for being here today as well.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
So I think as we get into our discussion here, I think one thing that might be helpful is if all of you take a little bit to talk about yourselves a little bit. So Ronell was on the show last year as to be able to talk about First Gen Student Initiatives. So let's just go, kind of reverse order. So Ronell, tell us a little bit about the role that you play at PNW and what you get to do in the day-to-day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in my role, I serve well over 3,000 first-generation college students. I'm not sure if folks are aware, our community is aware, but over 50% of our student population identifies as being a first-generation college student. And so we see that as a need that we want to meet. And so my position was created to support those first-generation college students through providing them with one-on-one support, advising, resources, connecting them with resources across campus, connecting them with our TRIO programs, which is our federally funded programs that are geared towards supporting our first generation college students. And we have 6 of those programs on campus that range from middle school all the way through to students who are interested in pursuing graduate level studies. And so I have a big responsibility of supporting our first generation college students and providing a space for them, a sense of belonging here at PNW.
Absolutely, and you have an extensive team, obviously,
Yeah.
with, like you said, with helping staff a number of those different programs that are helping serve students in a
Absolutely.
number of capacities across different stages of their academic careers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Melissa, you're one of our PNW students in the College of Business, so we'll obviously be able to get into a little bit of the discussion as well for everyone to be able to talk about their first gen experiences. So, how about to start out, tell us a little bit about what you enjoy about studying business and how you got interested in that.
So originally, I started going to school back in 2011. I was going to South Suburban College, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Everyone was like, well, you're good at math. How about you teach math? And I love education. I love teaching people. Just it's a natural thing that I love to do. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll be a math teacher. Continued on with that direction. Graduated in 2015. And I had a full scholarship to go to Governor's State, and I was going to start going there. Well, me and my sister both got a full scholarship. My dad passed away shortly after. And it was like either both of us drop out of school or one of us. And so I told her, you stay in school, I'll take care of everything else. And just handled everything in life. And in going through that and handling things, I really realized how much I am passionate about leadership, and decided to go back to school recently. This is my first semester coming back. I decided that PNW was really right for me because it is super close by. Their business program sounded amazing. I heard a lot of recommendations from a lot of people that I talked to, and it just seemed like the right fit for me. And so now I'm back in school, and it is amazing. I am a little bit older than a lot of the students here, so I almost felt like imposter syndrome the first day back. But I've had a whole lot of support from TRIO and the first generation office, and they just really helped me feel right coming back, and they've given me a lot of resources that help with I feel like I've had a little bit of a lack in technology, so they've had some resources for me on that as well.
Well, thank you very much for being able to share a little bit about yourself, and we're happy that you've been able to find a home at
Yes.
PNW.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And of course, last but not least, Maida, tell us a little bit about your role at
Yeah,
PNW.
absolutely. So my role is fairly new. I started in March of this year, and I was so excited about the role. And when I first met Ronell, I was looking for a great leader, and it was just like instant chemistry in terms of the way that we align in our vision for how we want to support our students. So my role has really shifted throughout the past 6-7 months that I've been here, and just adapting to the student needs. And so I do help and oversee the day-to-day operations for the office, but I do have a large student-facing component to my role where I support students at an individual level and meet them where they're at. So that's pretty much what I do.
All right. Thank you very much. So, diving in here, let's talk about what does it mean to be a first-generation college student. So, I'll open it up to Ronell and Maida to be able to help share what the definition means. And what does that mean as far as your student experience and what's different?
Yeah, the $1,000,000 question, right? Is so a first generation college student is a student where a parent or guardian, typically I like to refer to their household, does not have a 4-year degree, so a bachelor's degree. So that's how we identify our students at PNW as a first generation college student. There are unique experiences where we may have parents who may have gotten a degree, let's say in Mexico. But the education system is very different there than it is here. And so when students come to campus, and if we learn that their parents received a degree, let's say in Mexico, we would still consider that student to be a first generation college student, because first generation was created based off the American education system. And so we want to make sure that we serve those students who identify with being first gen. As far as the uniqueness of being a first generation college student, one of the factors is the pressures of being the first in their family to pursue a college degree. And so the level of stress and anxiety that comes with it, because they feel like they have to carry that burden on their shoulders. Another example would be financial. A lot of our students at PNW, I want to say close to half of our students have to work. And so they're having to work to support themselves as well. The one of the main conversations when it comes to the unique experiences of first gen is them not being able to navigate uncharted territories of higher education. When you don't necessarily have anyone that gone through it, it can be challenging to try to navigate your college advisor, navigating different resources on campus, knowing when the TRIO office is. And so those experiences really are unique to first generation college students. One thing I love about first generation college student, I myself was a first generation college student, I wear it as a badge of honor, is the level of determination and resilience that come with it, and adaptability that first gen students have. Because once you figure out, because when I have conversations with individuals about the first gen experience, one thing I always want to make sure that I clarify is that they are not at a deficit. We are not at a deficit as first gen students. A lot of times we just don't know where the resources are. And so my job, MIDA's job, is to coordinate and to direct those students to where those resources are on campus, and to inform our community that our first gen students are very capable of success. They just need to know where those resources are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ronell said it beautifully. But the only thing that I really want to emphasize is the lack of historical knowledge, right? You don't know what you don't know. And so that's what a large part of our office is really seeking out to do, is to provide that knowledge that traditionally continuing generation students have with their parents or other family members. So I think that's really important. And one thing that we like to also emphasize is that we operate through an intersectionality framework. We recognize that students are coming in with varying identities. So how do we help students understand introspectively their identities, first gen, and being other identities, and how to navigate higher education as being one of the first in their family?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being able to share a little bit more about that.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of shift gears here and talk about another one of our sections here, you mentioned about being first gen, being resilient, not being at a deficit, and celebrating that and wearing that as a badge of honor.
Absolutely.
Like Maida said, that's very beautifully phrased. So, how does your team celebrate our first gen students on campus? And here's the great thing about it too. It's not just limited to students, but also our faculty and staff as well are included.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, we're doing so many cool things in our office. So one of the things I definitely want to mention is our National First Gen Day. So National First Gen Day takes place on November 8th. And so we have scheduled a week of events and activities for the PNW community, the outside community can partake in, to celebrate our first gen students, to recognize our first gen community, to celebrate, to award, to recognize, also to inform. I think that's a great opportunity for those who are unfamiliar with the first generation college student experience during First Gen Week to get an opportunity to engage in conversation. We're working with the Career Center and alumni to bring in some alumni to talk about their experiences as first gen professionals. We also are inviting in some outside speakers to come and speak with us about their experiences as a first-gen college student. And then also we want to recognize Tri Alpha. which is our honor society on campus, and they'll be hosting their induction ceremony that week as well. So we have a week full of activities for our community to engage in, to learn more about the first gen experience, to also participate. If you're open and willing to participate and give some of your time to our events and activities, we highly, highly encourage it. You can reach out to us at firstgenpride@pnw.edu, and we'll be more than willing to reach back out to you if you are interested in getting involved.
Excellent.
Yeah. I think the only other thing that is super great that we do every semester is we also celebrate our graduates, right? The finish line is so important to first gen students, and so we have a special graduation celebration for our first generation college students where we get to celebrate them and their huge accomplishment. We really take time to kind of sit with that because it's so important, especially to students, to their families. They get their cords and they get recognized individually as they get courted, so it's a beautiful moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and great that you bring that up because I agree. That is one of the wonderful things that we are able to see at each commencement ceremony is those great chords
Yes.
that help lift up and celebrate our first gen students and say,
Absolutely.
"You made it!
Yeah.
This is the big day."
And I think one of the biggest things that I really would like for our office to do is to be able to engage with those students before commencement, because we would hand out those cords and we was like, man, like they're like, oh, I didn't know I was first gen, or I didn't know I was first gen. And so I want to be able to get this information out, and I want us to engage with the community, so then we're not waiting to commencement to connect with that student. We can connect with that student, early on in the semester, because they may need some additional support at that time, and we want to be able to provide that for them. So that's my goal, is that we can engage more of our first gen population way before commencement.
hmm So another thing that I wanted to be able to touch on and tee up for you folks is that when you're a first gen student, there might be a lot of unknowns, some uncertainties, some questions, and there could be multiple different avenues where you can help seek out the answers. So for the robust team that you have,
Yeah.
and for the resources that you're able to provide, can you talk a little bit about when a first gen student comes to find you? How do you help them be directed to get to find the resources that they need?
Yeah, absolutely. We could probably go back and forth on this one. One, I just want to give a shout out to my team. I have a phenomenal team of rock stars. Majority of my department of EOP, Education Opportunity Programs, identify as a first generation college student. And so right off the bat, they understand the students that are coming in needing those resources and support. So they're meeting the student where they are, similar as Maida mentioned. And so meeting with those students, they're able to engage, have conversation, learn what it is that they need in order to be successful, and they're able to provide that for them. If they're not able to provide them with that resource within that office space, we have connections all over campus. We have connections with admissions. We have connections with the Career Center. We have connections with first year advising. We have connections with our study away office. We have connections. It's almost like a web, right? We're right in the middle, and we have touch points all over. And so our goal is to really meet the student where they are, learn what it is that they need, and be able to provide them with those resources. And the key also is to follow up. I think a lot of times we can help lead them to those resources, but then there's no follow up. And one of the things I love about my team is that they care about our students. They want to make sure that our students are successful. So that follow up piece is very, very key.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, Ronell said it beautifully. But just to add on, there's that individual support, right? That component, because as we kind of mentioned, first generation students are not a monolith. They cannot fit into one single box. They come in at varying levels of knowledge and institutional context. And so it's very important for us to not oversimplify their experience. And so whenever I meet with students, I do an assessment where I will ask students questions that they perhaps might not be thinking about. Perhaps they already have a plan, and from there, then I can figure out how to create a success plan for the student and be able to support them in the way that they need. So that's one aspect. We also do, as Ronell mentioned, we help serve over 3,000 students. So it's just one of me and 3,000 students at PNW that are first gen. And so we also do large scale programming and workshops where we kind of give students the needed tools to, again, get that institutional context. Things like the unwritten or the invisible curriculum, right? The hidden curriculum, that those things and those ways of kind of navigating the classroom space and learning how you learn best are important things that we kind of address with students. We have those dialogue conversations.
And I would just like to add,
Yeah.
because from a student experience with you
Yeah,
guys,
absolutely.
it's showing that you were first generation students. You know, you give the time and the patience, and you know the right kind of questions to ask to help us reach our own conclusions and solutions together. It's pretty incredible
Yeah.
to have that support. Yeah.
So, to kind of help transition a little bit here, Melissa, I'd like to be able to ask you. So, when you chose and decided to come to PNW, can you talk a little bit about your experience, as well as some of the questions that you might have had?
My experience at PNW. So the first day that I arrived, I walked around on the campus, and I was like, "Oh, this is the biggest campus I've ever been on." Really, you know, it was pretty cool. But it's also really cool being nestled in between a neighborhood, so you kind of feel really cozy in there as well. The first experience that I had with speaking with somebody was my advisor in the College of Business, Janelle. She was very patient, very explanatory of the whole process and the program. And she made it clear that she wanted to make sure that it was something that I definitely do want to go through versus like, oh, here you go, and then let you do it all on your own or whatever. And, you know, I've gone through experience with advisors in the past, and I felt like nobody was really there for me. And so my experience at PNW specifically has felt like everyone I've encountered is there for you. And that really is the big difference, that sense of community and, hey, you're not doing this alone. You don't have to be in survival mode anymore. Like, we're here with you in this process. And that's really cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. And another thing that I like to be able to ask, so everyone's got their first gen T-shirts on, sporting them. They look fantastic. So how have you felt getting to be able to find a really cohesive community of first gen scholars at PNW, whether that's fellow students and classmates that you have, staff members, or even faculty members that are also first gen? How has that experience been for you?
Really good. I feel like they really are, everyone is focused on your success. So they almost go out of their way to make sure that they're kind of checking in and seeing what's going on. So, for instance, Rose, who is my advisor with the TRIO program, she called me one day. She said, "Hey, I saw that you weren't signed up for our trip to visit grad school down at IU." And I said, "Oh, well, you know, I've seen about that, but I didn't think that I would be able to go because it's a Monday and a Tuesday, and I think I have class that day." And she said, "Girl, it's fall break." And she said, "I would love to see you down there because you're a junior student, and we want some of our older students to be able to have a chance to see grad school." And that was something that I didn't even know was an option either. I didn't know anything about grad school. So she made it a point to call me and check in with me. And that really said a lot to me, you know, and it really, I ended up going down to CIU, and they took a whole bus of all of us, and we were all able to chat together. I had a roommate in the hotel, and we had a night of games that we all played together. It was really, really cool because I probably wouldn't have otherwise talked with a lot of these other individuals, and they're all so very like-minded like me. You know, we're focused on our studies. We did come from a place of being first gen, and there's a lot of things that you have to overcome. So being able to talk about that with one another, it's very encouraging.
That's awesome.
And when you're getting the chance to be able to build these relationships with people, as well as having the chance to interact with people that are thinking about attending college themselves, what are the points of advice that you like to be able to share with first-gen students or prospective students that are thinking about college?
I would have to say, don't be afraid to claim a new identity. My background, my dad, my mom, both of them never went to school, right? And my dad was like, you don't have to go to school. It was this connotation essentially like, don't go to school almost. And so don't be afraid to try new things, to do new things. I think that we wouldn't be where we are today in the world with all the progress that we've made in society if it weren't for those individuals who step up and do new things and do the difficult things. And so in progressing through life, there are going to be difficulties, but definitely try and seek out the support that'll help you reach your goals that you know that you really want to obtain in life. Don't let anything stop you.
I couldn't have put it better myself.
I
No,
know,
right?
I know.
I wouldn't want to go after that. No, I think Melissa said it beautifully. Again, just kudos. I'm over here just in admiration with everybody's responses. But I think it's important to kind of keep reminding first gen students that I often do when I meet with them. One, self-care is important. Our first generation students work very hard, and we want to make sure that they are taking care of themselves so they can be their very best. And the other is we got to start somewhere, right? We have it's scary sometimes to encounter new experiences, to go beyond our comfort level and what we're used to. And so something that I tell students is never close your own door. Let others people tell you no. Don't do that before you actually encounter that opportunity, because you don't know how many opportunities you'll miss.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say put your pride to the side. I think a lot of times, as myself as a first generation college student, it was very hard for me to ask for help. I was like, I'll figure it out. I've been figuring it out. I'll figure it out. And you find yourself tripping and falling, bumping your head all the way through before you finally figured it out. And there are resources on campus that can help you so you won't have to trip and fall and bump your head. But a lot of times it's coming to the conclusion that, you know what, I need help. I need these individuals around to help me be successful. And when we say we use us till you cannot use us anymore, that's why we exist on campus. That's why I get paid to do the job that I do. That's why Mina gets paid to do the job that she does. Is we want to be used by our students to make sure that they have what they need to be successful. So, no pun intended, but put your pride to the side.
We have a few more minutes before we have to close out. One of the things that I also wanted to be sure to be able to touch on is that we are recognized by the Center for First Generation Student Success, and we are a network leader within that system. Would you be able to talk about that too?
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably one of my proudest moments is getting that national recognition from the higher education community, with our institution being recognized and supporting our first generation college students with quality and with care. And so we're moving into the second year as a network leader. But prior to that, we were a first gen forward, which is the first level. So we made it to the second level. The third level is a champion leader. That's our goal. Our goal is to become a champion leader within the higher education community. We're still in position to share best practices with other institutions as far as the work that we're doing to serve our first-gen students. So it's definitely a proud moment for PNW to be recognized nationally for supporting our first-gen students.
Yeah, absolutely. And just tee up one more time for us the dates and the times and what's on deck for our first gen college celebrations.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we're working, the marketing material will come out shortly, but plan for November 4th through the 10th. We have a week of activities for the PNW community and outside our PNW community to partake in. So look out for more information. If you are wanting to get involved within the First Gen community, please email us at firstgenpride@pnw.edu. I hope I'm looking in the right camera. Am I looking in the right camera?
We're good.
Okay. firstgenpride@pnw.edu. At my office, if you're wanting to stop by my office, I'm in SULB, which is our student union library building in room 343. So please feel free to stop by if you're wanting to get involved, learn more information, or if you just want to come by and share your story.
Absolutely. And I always like to shout out URLs. So again, pnw.edu/firstgen or even pnw.edu/EOP. That's a great landing page too to be able to check out
Absolutely,
educational
absolutely.
opportunity programs. So that wraps it up for the PNW Today program for October 10th. So Maida, Melissa, and Ronell, thank you very much for being able to join for this
Thank
second
you.
segment. I very much appreciate your time and energy early on this Thursday. And we will see you the next time in about a month for November. So until then, take care, and we'll see you next time.
All
Bye.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.